Hi everyone, my name's Ryan and welcome back to another Behind the Hype. Today we're looking at the intersection of art and fintech. It's a really exciting topic we've got coming up. Before we dive into that, for anyone who's just joining us for the first time, Behind the Hype is a meetup series that Finastra has been running for a number of months. We used to run it physically in key locations across the globe, and we've been running it virtually for a good number of months now. And the purpose of Behind the Hype is to take topics in finance, technology, fintech, and demystify them, look beyond the hype, and really have a good conversation about them. So throughout the session, you are able to ask your questions, comments through the comment section below on whatever platform you're watching. We'll be having a presentation followed by some Q&A, but please put your Q&A or your questions in at any point. We'll be covering them later on and we'll be pulling it into our discussion. So that is enough from me. Shireen, who do we have coming up today on Behind the Hype?
Thanks, Ryan. Hello, everyone. So today, indeed, we are having a quite unique topic, and we're really excited to have with us Laetitia Maffei, who's the founder and CEO of DANAE. And I'll just hand it over to Laetitia just to hear from her an introduction about her and about DANAE.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Shireen and Ryan, for inviting me. I'm very happy to present what we're doing and what is DANAE. In fact, we are building a new economy for the art market. Because maybe I can share a few slides right now. I will. Already, this is, yeah, Ryan asked me to prepare some slides. In fact, we tackle the issue of digital art because I'm an art historian, and my first love in life, I think, is painting, and I still spend a lot of time in museums. And a few years ago, I noticed that painters were not using traditional tools anymore, like brushes. There were more and more painting with digital tools, with iPhone and iPad and tilt brush and new softwares. And so I really thought this was absolutely amazing. And what I also, talking with them, I noticed that they were considering them still as painters. And when I saw these artworks, and when I also printed them, I noticed that I really had the same sensation than in front of a traditional oil on canvas painting or acrylic. And I thought, and especially a few years ago when I won the competition to create a mobile museum for Paris region, I had to feature and to exhibit works of art which could not be destroyed, which would not be too fragile. So this is how, in fact, I dived into digital art, and I met a lot of artists, and I discovered really amazing things. Now, digital art is more and more well known, but at the time it was not very fancy, and museums were not showing it a lot. So I thought there was, the art market is based on scarcity, on unicity, and what gives value to work, of course, is how new it is in the art history, but also how unique it is. And I thought this is amazing, because today art is becoming digital, and a digital art is a file which is duplicable, and so it can be used many different times, and it can be also printed many times. And still, art dealers and traditional art markets were still, print a digital artwork, a photography, for example, because photography today is practically only digital. So photographies are printed in one edition. And I thought, is there a sense, why should a digital artwork, duplicable, which is duplicable by nature, why should it be printed only once? And I thought we have to rethink totally the model of the traditional art market. And this is with my co-founder, Frédéric Laffitte. This is what we did a few years ago. And we got very inspired by art history, and especially by Sol LeWitt, who is an American artist. He's considered to be the father of conceptual art. And at the end of the 60s, he created what he called wall drawings. And still today, when you buy a wall drawing, you buy a piece of paper which is the receipt of the artwork, and you still have the estate today of the artist coming into your house, and the estate draws, in fact, this receipt on your wall. So what is interesting is that Sol LeWitt is one of the first artists who made the distinction between the creation, the idea of the artwork, and its materiality. And in fact, we also thought this was still before, for example, Leonardo da Vinci already said art is una cosa mentale. It means that it's only creation of an intellectual creation. And then you have, of course, Marcel Duchamp. And so we thought this is in fact where this is the solution. In fact, we created. The solution is we created is that, like Sol LeWitt, we are doing the distinction between the creation and its materiality. And I hope this design will explain to you a little bit more. In fact, and to give value to this artwork, we are also creating a financial link between the two, between creation and its materiality. So this is the idea behind the concept of DANAE. So maybe before going further, I will show you a little bit what is digital art, because it's nice to exactly know what it is. I will switch my screen. So I will present you Salomé Chatriot. She's a young French artist, and I really love what she does. She works a lot with video, but this is a still image, and I will show you also a video. It will start again in a few seconds. So this is just to show you a little bit what can be, what is digital art. It can be video, it can be virtual reality. Sorry. It can be print, it can be a 2D print, it can be a 3D print. And so it can, in fact, one artwork can also be all this together. And I like also to show you another one, because I was talking about print. This is Alexandra Gorzinski. She's an American artist, and she created a 2D image. This is a 2D image. You know, you have collage, you have a painting, and in fact, she also created a video which can be projected on top of the prints. So what is interesting with digital artwork is that with one work, you can have you can use it in many different ways. And this is what is really new with digital art. You know, it can be made to measure, made for a special art experience. And there is also this one that I really love, because it's really continuous art history. It reminds me the Renaissance portrait with the landscape behind. Voilà. And you also have more well-known painters, like, in fact, David Hockney. I'm sure okay, I think you can see better. This is a painting by David Hockney. He made this painting during the confinement period. He was in Normandy in his house, and this is a drawing. This is an iPad drawing. And what is interesting with David Hockney is that he's what we can call a traditional painter, a classical painter. He painted with oil, with acrylic, and since maybe more than 10 years now, he's only draws and paint with iPad. So to continue, so voilà, this is what I explained. You know, you can see the artwork by Alexandra Gorzinski. You can see that you can print them and can have many. You can have many different editions of these artworks. So in fact, what we thought, how are we going to do this? And this is why this is how we dive into technology and to fintech. In fact, a few years ago, I discovered the blockchain. You know, everybody heard a lot about blockchain, because blockchain, you know, the blockchain is not Bitcoin. Blockchain is the technology behind the Bitcoin, and it has many different utilities, and it's like a public ledger to record, you know, a lot of things, a lot of transactions. And so what is interesting is that you can record an artwork, and the artwork, you know, like a mini Bitcoin, you know, can be divided into units. We call these units tokens. And so you have the creation, which is the tokens, and then the artwork is also licensed for many use, for prints, for individual, for your home, and for exhibition and experiences. And what is very important to us is to create a fair art market. And we really want the artists to be in the center, you know, of what we are building, because the way we decided to remunerate artists is very important to us, and it's also a big issue in all the art industry, especially music. And in with DANAE, what is very important to us is that the artist is remunerated at each step of the process. You know, he is remunerated when the tokens are first introduced on the primary market, and then when tokens are resold, the artist has automated resale rights thanks to the blockchain technology. And when, for example, when you buy a print for your home, this generates royalties, and the artist also gets a percentage of these royalties. This is something very, very important to us. And to be more precise, to give you an example of what we are building, and this is where we're entering really in fintech, and why we're in fact creating a fintech, is that if I take an example, one artwork is, recorded in the blockchain with yeah.
Are you able to make it full screen?
Sorry.
A bit bigger,
Yeah.
but I love the slide because it really brings it to life. So back over.
Okay, it's better like this?
Yes, that's great.
Okay, perfect. So this is an example so you can understand better what we are building. So an artwork is recorded and is divided in, for example, 20,000 tokens, and an investor decides to invest $10,000, for example. And so it means that he owns half of the artwork, so he can get half of the royalties allocated to this artwork. And on the other end, you have buyers who orders editions. Editions can be prints, it can be also an exhibition for museums, it can be many things. And these editions, they generated royalties. So if, for example, if 10 editions, they generated $12,000 royalties, it is divided, between the gallery, DANAE, or other galleries, of course, artist and investor. And this first investor, A, who invested $10,000, he can get royalties allocated to the artwork. So it means he can get $2,000, which is a return on investment of 20%. And this return on investment will increase the value of the artwork. And this investor will be able to resell his tokens on the trading platform. And so he found another investor C, who decided to buy these tokens for example, $22,000. And this, after this transaction, the investor, he made a capital gain of $10,900. So this is how the system is working. We are still building it. We are very honored to have a partnership with Du Network, which is a French blockchain. And this was also very important to us, to work with French, researchers in the blockchain technology, like Fabrice Lefesson. So, like you understood, we have two projects: the art investment with the audience, a very broad audience today, especially with the COVID crisis, and with a lot of competitive advantage, because this, first of all, the entry price, it's much lower than in other, traditional, for example, Christie's or Sotheby's. And we are creating the first model with dividends, with royalties. And what is also very important is that there is no fees, for insurance, transportation, storage, like a traditional painting, for example. And of course, we create a fair remuneration for artists. Like I explained, this is very important to us. And the other product is art experience, and the audience is also very broad today. Many experiential centers are opening today. This is, for example, Team Lab. I'm sure maybe you saw Team Lab in Paris a few years ago. And they sell many entry tickets, but their traditional gallery, which is the Pace Gallery, very often says, I don't know how to sell these artworks to my traditional collectors. And in fact, we are creating a new art market to respond to this issue. And of course, the competitive advantage for the licensing the artwork is that, of course, it is made to measure, and especially it can be permanent, temporary, and there is the fees for storage and are very low. So I think, yeah, I tried not to be too long. Maybe we can go back if you have a question to understand more what is DANAE, and I will talk later about our last project.
Great, thank you so much for that introduction. A quick reminder for anyone watching, if you want to ask a question, just put it in the comments and we'll tackle it as we go. I want to kick off with, first of all, disclaimer, I'm not an art expert by any means. You are our art expert. So the first thing that pops into mind is art, in my mind, is very tangible in that, it's something physical that you see and you purchase, and you think about all the museums filled with art. And also just the way that they say that most artists are worth more once they die than they are when they're alive, and everything like that. Have you faced any barriers when it's come to setting up this new way of doing art, in that you're going from tangible to digital, which you could say is intangible? What's your thoughts on that, just as a starting point?
In fact, I was myself quite surprised, because it's a long journey, to explain to the traditional art market that artwork, a digital artwork, could be printed and edited in unlimited times. But where I was very surprised is when we met the artist and when we talked to the artist about what we were creating, and all the artists told us that they were expecting for this for a long time. Why? Because first of all the artists think that it's very fair to have an automated resale right during all their life. This is the first point. And also digital artwork, it's very frustrating for an artist when the artwork is edited in very small dimensions. And most of the artists, they are very happy if their artwork can be edited, in with unrestricted limits. In fact, it can be what they want. It can have huge dimensions if the collectors want it. It can be printed, it can be made to measure for firms, who, for example, who need a beautiful and very and huge artwork for their lobby. And this is where we were very happy about it, that all the artists said they think our project is it's time now to shift and to change a little the mind.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. I think what I really liked about the project, as you presented it, Laetitia, is how at the same time it's like building a fair market for the artists, and then on the other hand, making also all the making art more accessible, having a wider distribution, etc. So it's really a great project. The question I had for you is actually about the idea. How did you get to this specific idea about, because it's quite disruptive, it's changing completely the market. Did you start with something different and pivoted into that, or how did you get there?
In fact, this is what I tried to explain to you at the beginning, is that the idea is really to rethink the art market, and I thought really it has no sense that an artwork which is by nature duplicable is only printed once in one edition and cost $1 million. Uh, to me, this is absolutely nonsense. But it's a huge step, because you really need to change all the mentalities, and this is what we are doing, and this what I really like to do, and also to, like you say, I want people, to engage in art, and I like all the all what I'm doing, in fact, in my job, what I have always done is that I want to bridge the gap between life and art. And I'm not the one who invented this sentence. In fact, it's Robert Berg, because I think art that be only showed in, and I think I want art to enter in everybody's home. So like you said, I want people, and in fact, to do this, creating new tools. We're creating, first of all, we create a virtual museum. So everybody can, and this is, of course, the COVID crisis is quite a booster, in fact, for the project, because today everybody is live online experiences, and in fact, and we are creating also two ways of investing in art and support creation and the artists. One, for traditional and professional investors, something like I would say a Bloomberg-like a trading platform, and the other one more like Instagram, and try your like. So when you like it, you invest at the same time. So we are creating tools to foster liquidity in the market that we are creating.
A question from me on the business model. So you shared some slides before about how it works as an investor, as an artist. How did you actually get to that point where you said, this is our business model that works? Did you have kind of different iterations, or was it always quite clear that this is the way that you commercialize this?
We're a startup, and what is very important when you are a startup is that you cannot have a fixed idea. You iterate and you test and learn every day, and not, in fact, you just do this in life and not only in your work. But this is very important. And of course, what we do, as I said, the artist is really in the center of our project, and we sign contract with them, and we never say to an artist, it's like this, and it's not going to be another way. It's all about discussion, and we can start with Can you hear me?
We can now.
Okay.
You're back. I thought it was my end, but you're back now.
I'm in the countryside. I'm in my family house, and I'm just at the the point where I have the best internet connection, but maybe it's not all the time perfect. I'm sorry.
That's okay. A slightly different question, actually. You spoke about blockchain earlier and the technology that you're using to enable this. I'm going to assume that you're not the technologist expert, you're the art expert. How did you approach the technology side, and who you went with, how you built it? I guess finding the right person to build this, with you. Is it your co-founder? Is it someone else?
In fact, I'm the one who got totally passionate by blockchain technology, and a lot of people are surprised about this because they don't have a manager, a jurist, an art historian, and also love technology. But I mean, I'm a very curious person, and I like to dive, in a domain that I don't know. I really like this, and I got totally passionate with blockchain, with Bitcoin, and I thought it was an amazing innovation. And I met a lot of people, and I had the chance a few years ago to meet Fabrice Lefesson, a French researcher the Dune network, and we are partners. We have a partnership with him.
Laetitia, I have another question for you. You mentioned earlier how COVID has actually changed the access to art, especially digital art, as everything is happening online. Do you still see that the art market is different by geography, or is it now maybe more homogeneous given that everything is really available online and all digital?
The art market is getting more and more digital. Sotheby's and Christie's are doing more and more their sales online. But I think the art market is very international, and I don't see so much geographical specificities. I think it's really an international market. Of course, the United States and now China are very important market, and of course Europe. But it's really an international market, and in fact, collectors used to travel, all around the world to see all the art fairs. So now this is going to change, I think, quite a lot. And I think it's good also.
There's a related question actually that came in through the comments. So how applicable is it in India? That's the specific person who's asking, but just more generally, when it comes to your solution, is it something that differs in different geographies when you think you've got two sides? You've got the artists who are the producers, and then the consumers of the digital art. Obviously, you're based in France, so I'm sure you've launched. I assume you launched there first, but are you looking at other geographies, and do you see a difference when it comes to maybe the artists who are interested in the solution?
No, they. In fact, the platform we're building is going to work worldwide, and this is so. This is like, you know, all other digital innovation. So the everybody can, you know, can buy an artwork, can buy tokens, or can order a print or a turnkey exhibition, because we also, as art historians, we love to do this. Turnkey exhibition with very specific historic subjects like
Yeah, I think we've lost Laetitia again.
Sorry. So the platform, the marketplace will be available in most of the countries.
So, am I correct in that you've recently done some fundraising? And if so, how has that been doing fundraising during a pandemic? Did you face any challenges, and how did you overcome that?
So yeah, of course we raise fund because to the objective of raising fund is to finance the technology. And we were very lucky because our investors say they want to be part of the journey a little bit before the COVID crisis and the confinement. So we were very lucky because we launched, in fact, the recreation of the technology during the COVID crisis. So I worked a lot, and I hired most of my team during the COVID crisis, you know, remotely, and it's working very well. And we are all in different countries, and it was an amazing experience. Yeah, it was very challenging, but we got quite well organized, and it also, I think, gave me time to think. And sometimes it's important, you know, to stay in one place. This is sometimes, you know, like this. I'd like to work remotely because you work a lot and you need to take the time to think. And what was also very important is that to build trust between my team and our investors. And yeah, I think it was very challenging, and we learned a lot.
No, thanks for sharing your experience. It's actually really interesting to see how you've done this through COVID and confinement, etc., and lockdown, and also how you've built a team as an international team right away. So yeah, well done.
Thank you. But it's just the beginning of the journey. And we are very happy to announce, it's almost an exclusivity, but we just in July, at the end of July, we learned that we won a very big competition for in Paris for the Ile Seguin with the Japanese artist Kohei Nawa, to build a monumental sculpture. So this is an amazing project. If you want, I can show you a few slides. I will go back.
Yeah, congratulations. That would be great if you can share a bit about it.
This is it, you know, this is, you recognize Il Seguin and the scène musicale. Yeah, I will activate this. Sorry, I always forget. And this is Koweït, and his studio made all these pictures. And so the sculpture, there will be, with the sculpture, there will be an augmented reality app, and this is quite new for public art. And it's really, it's new for everybody, and it's going to be really a great experience. So this is really an exclusivity. Voila. Up, I'm going back. Okay.
Oh, that's really cool. Thanks a lot for sharing.
You're welcome. We are. It will be great.
So a last question from me, actually. And it's an easy one. What's the best way of getting in touch with you? Because someone has also said, can you share this presentation?
Of course, yeah. Maybe I can share a better presentation. Everybody can. It's very easy to get in touch with me because my email is on the website is danae.ai. I get email. I get a lot of emails every day. Yesterday, a gallery from Istanbul asked me for artworks by Anne Vieux. It's very easy to get in touch with me. So I try to answer to every email.
That's great. Thank you so much. Shireen, I don't know if you have any last questions.
No, I think that's all for me as well. It was great having you, Laetitia.
Thank you very much. It was very nice inviting me.
It's also been quite nice to look at a different area. This is very different to other Behind the Hypes that we've done. So thank you so much for joining. I've been scribbling away, and I have some ideas that have been percolating just off of what you said. So thank you so much. Thank you to our viewers for watching Behind the Hype. We'll be back next week for two, actually. We've got slightly different topics. So we have a session coming up in partnership with EFMA and Capgemini, looking at the World FinTech Report and diving into customer experience and the findings from that report. And then we've also got a Women in FinTech session again next week, where we get to speak to some more female founders. So thank you everyone for joining, and catch you next time.
Bye-bye.